All right, let's finish this trammel hook up now. We're going to make this top clip that goes around here that secures this part up here. My favorite way of doing this is a band, just a band going around in a U shape around this bar. But as you can see, we have to take into account the distance here from this top thing up to here. We have to have a little bit of distance here before our band goes around, just so that everything operates okay. And then I've taken a small piece of material here, and I've already measured it out. You can see I'm thinking if that's halfway around, and then so if I'll double this and I'll cut that and I'll bend this to a U shape. And our goal is in the end we don't want it to hang like that, right? We want it to hang pretty parallel. So there's where I have marked it, and I'm going to go ahead and double that, cut that off, and bend that to a U, and let's see how it fits. All right, I've folded it over, and I've used another little piece of scrap material. See how I did that? I just folded it over, and I'm using that to make sure it's all in line and parallel. See? So I make that little U-clip there. I hope you can see that. All right there. Now let's see how it fits to the piece. So here's the little clip. It's going to go on here, right? Like that, right? And then this will pass through it like that, okay? And this is a little bit narrow right now to that piece, but that's what I want, because I'll drift that open. I'll drift that open afterwards to get it just right. Now at this point you could take and put, let's move that out of the way there once, and let me just put it on here like that. Fair enough? So it's going to be like, now you could rivet that in place if you'd like, but it's far more authentic, in my opinion, to weld that on there, to forge weld that on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze that tight so it stays put and flux it a little bit, and then hold it in the fire. And you know yourself, if you get to the right temperature in the fire, the pieces start to stick even in the fire. And then I can carefully bring it out, keeping it level. Okay, so I'm not even going to tack weld it or anything. You could, if you like, you could tack weld it to keep it in place, but you don't have to. It stays put. You just be careful, put it in the fire, bring it up to welding temperature till it's actually stuck to itself, and just come out and just, you're going to see, I'm just going to tap it, right? And then it's stuck, and then I'll go back in, bring it up to temperature again, and really weld it in place. So let's do that. So what I've done is I took and I clamped that down a little bit tighter that it wouldn't quite fit on there right, and then I've kind of driven it on there to give it a nice good snug fit. Now of course as soon as it gets hot it could come off there, so I'm going to hold it the whole time very carefully, just like that, till I see that it's up to welding temperature and it's stuck, and then I'll come over and touch it. I have my small hammer in my hand here at the forge, not at the anvil. And I've brought the piece up till it sparkled in the fire just a little bit, so I know it was sticking itself together, and just held it still that whole time. So it's stuck together a bit. It's right there right now. Turn off the fire, give it about 2 or 3 seconds. Now it doesn't look like much, does it? But that's all it took. That's all it took. That's all it took. Now I'm going to go ahead and brush this good, flux it again, and just do that same thing one more time. See, that bugger's on board. Fun, huh? Okay, so there it was. There's the second weld on there. It's not going anywhere. Now, I was really careful that that thing seated right where I want it to be. But if you end up with a little bit excess here, a bulge, maybe your piece overlap and hang out here or over here, you can just take it and hot rasp it. While it's hot, put it in the vise and just rasp that, clean that up. Of course, you could take when it's cold and grind it, but it's fun to hot rasp too, and then it's just, you're moving right along, right? So you could just hot rasp that and dress that right up. Okay? So I'm just going to brush that guy now. And what's left to do now is that hole is kind of small right there. See? I can't even get the, yeah, I got the pointer through. So I have to open that up a little bit. And to do that, we want to put this in a vise. You want to put it in a vise holding your, you don't want to put stress on your weld, okay? So you're going to clamp it on the weld, and then we're just going to take a drift in here. We'll probably hit straight down on it and start to open that up and then run a drift through it so that it passes through the size of our bar. So that's what we have to do. All right, I'm just going to put this in the vise. Like that, right? And now I can just tap down lightly with not a very big hammer. And that's opening it up, you see? Opening that hole up. Here I have a drift. So I can put that drift in there too if I like. And make sure that it's going to be the right size. So I'm going to go ahead. The drift fits in there now. I'll heat it up one more time, and then I'll tap it a little bit on the anvil around that drift. All right, so here's our piece. Let's put that drift in place in there. Get that drift about center. Then I'm just going to tap down and make sure the whole thing is just the nice radius, the same as that drift, huh? Looking good. So one thing about this is it doesn't take, we're not doing a lot of heavy hammering, are we? Be careful when you knock that drift out. It's going to be hot, and it's coming right at you. So there, we've opened it up pretty nicely, huh? Now we'll fit the piece. See how it does. Oh, well, I couldn't be any happier. I slid this guy up in. See, you can slide him together now. They're in two pieces. And so I'll fit that end in there real quickly, a little bit. Just enough, and it fits fine, doesn't it? Real well. Fit this in here. You see how I just put that clip in there? I'm going to bring this up and see how it works. And I really like that. That is perfect right here. The right distance. There's not much slop in here. It has a really good look to it, doesn't it? I hope you appreciate with me the fact that this is welded on and not riveted. To me, it just looks better. It looks like this person it looks more authentic to the time period, okay? Because it is quicker. It's much more efficient. There isn't time spent making holes, making rivets, setting that stuff. And then you would have to have two rivets if you didn't want it to wobble, or a square rivet. And this was we just put it on, and you saw me. It was one tap, back in the fire, one more tap, brush it, drift it, it was done. And boy, it has a good look to it, doesn't it? That's going to work out real well. Okay, so now what's left on this project is we have to put a hook. I got to draw the point to this, put a little curly cue on it, and we'll put a hook on this end. And then I'll do the same thing here. I'll draw it to a point and put a hook on this end. Remember, I'm knocking off those edges. Ever so slightly knock off those edges. No sharp edges. Nice little petite on the end, right? Not bad. All right, so now we've finished with our trammel hook, and there it is. Let's see if it works. See, they should operate on their own, moving in the up direction if you've done everything just right. There we go. And we have it all the way up without using the thumb thing, just on its own. Now, of course, to go down, you would open it up and roll it down. Now, here's the beautiful thing that I like about this particular style and why I did this for this demonstration. Of course, this is for lighting, but you could use it you could make it heavier duty for a campfire. But take a look at this. How often times do you put something up and it doesn't line up? It doesn't hang just the way you want it. But look at this. You can take this. I'm holding it steady up on top here, and I can rotate it. Look at this. I can turn that to any position I want it to be. So your candle lighting or your pot on the fire will set right the way you want it to. See that? See how I can rotate that? You know, and in any position, it rotates just fine. That's the magic of this design. And the cool thing about this isn't 21st century thinking that we've gone and added our own 2 cents for. This is how they made it back then. All right? This is early 1700s, possibly 1600s. And yet, they can rotate it just like that. So no extra thing is added. Isn't that wonderful? That's what I love about this design more than anything. And by having the ball down here, so it pivots there, it pivots here, and it rotates right around, and it functions real well, doesn't it? I mean, look at this. There it is. And if we come up like this, look at that. And it just works right on down through. Isn't that wonderful? Now, a variation on this is instead of putting the hook on the bottom, why not forge your candle holder as one piece? You can either come out with a T-bar and put 2 candles on it, or you could forge weld 2 cups coming out like that, and it'd be beautiful, right? So this is a fun project. Remember, you have to get comfortable welding, but if you can weld this up here, this piece, instead of rivet it, those who look at it is going to say, wow, look at that. He welded that little piece, and it's quicker. It's easier. It's much quicker. And I just love doing that. So now you know the secret to my favorite trammel hook, the long teeth, this welded on, and the ability to rotate this piece. It's a magical piece, isn't it? It's a lot of fun to make. And there it is. Boy, when it's hanging there, there's no questioning. This isn't a 21st century reproduction. This guy will sit, its design, its look, its style will sit perfectly well with the originals. And therefore it stands out. So good. Hope you enjoyed this.